Texas A&M at Missouri. I'll pull up the lines in a second.
All right, we like to, we say win the water cooler here, right? We can sit here and be like, oh, well, Marcel Reed can run, and you look at obviously what Missouri has and Luther Burden. We can give you the obvious. I'm going to give you something that's a little bit under the radar here that not a lot of people are going to talk about. We look at conflicting styles, and everybody thinks it's about the pass game, right, or your defense isn't good. To me, the coolest matchup in this game is not at quarterback. It's in the run game. Texas A&M, defensively, they love getting in the backfield quickly. Most defensive lines do, but they get north very, very fast. And that can cause a lot of trouble. But Missouri loves that outside zone, right? Zone scheme. Noel does a really good job of being able to read the cutback. I'll give you a hint. The zone was built to cut back. If you get north too much in this game, you can get gutted by this zone. You can get absolutely gutted. But if you're Texas A&M and Mike Elko, you don't want to take away the stinger from your guys on that defensive line, because it can lead to some big disruption plays too, getting into the backfield so quickly, not worrying about getting trapped or kicked or anything like that. So who wins the battle of the aggressive Texas A&M, let's get vertical defensive line, versus the Missouri outside zone game that spreads you out and cuts you back and puts linebackers in tough positions? But when I look at A&M offensively, Mike Elko's hand has been forced, at least for now. You have to start Marcel Reed. You cannot put Connor Wegman back in the game. You are undefeated with Marcel Reed. You look like you're clicking. I know the Bowling Green game wasn't sexy. I know it wasn't some offensive renaissance against Arkansas this past weekend. But he gives you the best chance to move the ball because the playmakers around him aren't elite. You are making the defense have to defend you totally differently than they have to defend Connor Wegman. Not that Wegman's a paraplegic, I'm not saying that, but Marcel Reed makes that backside defensive end stay on the zone read. He makes a spy look at him in the pass game. He opens everything else for everybody. He makes the running back, makes it easier on them. There's less guys they have to worry about. He can run the ball up the middle and to the outside, but most importantly, he can create when the play breaks down better than Connor Wegman can, running and moving outside of the pocket and throwing. Is he a perfect player? No. But if I'm a defensive coordinator, if I am Missouri, at least from what I've seen with Wegman coming back off the injury and him not trusting it, I would much rather face Connor Wegman than Marcel Reed right now, because the kid's getting more confident and confident and confident by the day, and you have to defend more. Colin Klein can pull much more out of the bag, stuff that he was used to running when he was a quarterback at Kansas State, kind of parries over to Marcel Reed more than Connor Wegman. So whether it's looking at Marcel Reed at quarterback or will Luther Burden finally explode in the game offensively, David, this matchup is fascinating to me, and I cannot wait to watch it. And if Texas A&M wins this one, we've got to start talking about, hey, this team can have a chance to make it to Atlanta.
Some pros and cons for both teams here. Obviously, Texas A&M going to be at home, right? And then Missouri didn't look that great against Vanderbilt. But for the Missouri side, they can say, hey, Vanderbilt's a better team than a lot of people are giving them credit for. Beat Virginia Tech, who just took Miami down to the wire, but also they had a bye week in between. So Missouri had time to get ready for this game, and they can say Texas A&M is favored right now. Texas A&M is favored by 2 points. I think Coach Drinkowitz can use that and say, do you see, we're not going to get any respect ever from this conference. We're always going to be an afterthought. All we can do is go out there and win football games. So to your point, if Texas A&M wins and gets a lot of momentum rolling, Missouri the same way. This is their first road game this season. They're 4-0 so far at home. If you go on the road and beat Texas A&M, now all of a sudden you get your momentum and you're going to be the team that we thought Missouri could be heading into this year.
Yeah, and Blaine, I'm going to pose two things to you. Mm-hmm. This Missouri team before the season, when we looked at the tiers of the SEC, we said, all right, we feel like we know who is in tier one, right? You look at the Georgias, you look at Alabama, you look at Texas, you look at Ole Miss, who's now dropped down, I think, to the top of tier two. But who were those preseason top of tier two teams that could make a step forward? Tennessee was on that list. I put them in tier one right now. LSU was on that list. I leave them where they're at. A&M was on that list. I leave them where they're at. You look at Missouri. They're on that top of tier two. Can they recreate what they did last year and take that next step, similar to what we were hoping to see from Ole Miss? If they go win this game, all right, regardless of how it looks, do you put Missouri into the tier one of the SEC? Do you?
Yes. Yes, I do.
I agree with that.
I think last year gave Missouri the opportunity to sit at the big boy table this year. and they have to learn how to handle that. Even walking this game with A&M being favored, doesn't it feel like A&M's an underdog in this football game?
It does. It does.
Doesn't it feel like that? And I'm sure Mike Elko is preaching that to his guys, no matter what the line is. The big thing I look at in this game, one, how Luther Burns not had leading receiving yards for Missouri is beyond me. I don't even know how that happens.
I don't care if he's doubled.
Just throw it. Marcel Reed, 6 touchdowns. How many turnovers? 0.
And how many losses?
0. 0 losses as well. And look, you hold Taylor Green to 13 yards rushing. And look, I know Brady Cook is not the most elusive guy, but Brady Cook is a timely runner. He knows when to take off. You go back to kind of like Stetson last year. He'll find a way on 3rd and 7 to somehow scoot out and get a first down. The big thing I'm looking at, Jake, you brought this up. How do you handle Luther Burden Jr. if you are Texas A&M? Do you double him? And how good can you be in the run game? Because look, Drink wants to run the ball and Elko wants to run the ball. Who can limit turnovers and who can get to the red zone and get 7 points? You have to score touchdowns in this game to win. The over-under is at 48.5. I like the over in this game. I think some points will get scored, but it's tough. I'm not going to pick a winner right now, but the Brady Cook-Marcel Reed matchup, man, I cannot wait.
And they're in 2 different spots. I want to, last thing before we move on to Georgia and Auburn, I want to throw this out there. What teams have given the Missouri defense the most trouble so far? Boston College.
Running quarterbacks.
And Vanderbilt. What do both of those offenses have in common? A quarterback that can run. I'm really interested to see the way that Missouri's front 7 and especially the linebackers are able to tackle in space in this game. And do not think for a second that Mike Elko, with Connor Wegman hanging back in the wings, getting healthier and healthier, is afraid to run Marcel Reed. They're going to run him as much as they need to. And obviously in the pass game, can he beat Missouri to the edge, and can Missouri keep contain on this guy? Because if you don't keep contain on him, they're going to contain a W. Hey, YouTube, what is up? Appreciate all you guys stopping by. We're unbelievably happy with how many people watch the live stream and how many subs we're getting. Please, if you haven't, if you just found us, hit that subscribe button, and please keep sharing the show because we want to keep taking this thing on the road.